just when you thought the Seraphon had croaked their last croak.
It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show on your screens tonight. It's the Andy and Remington Steel Show for your home delight. We're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. Talking about Warhammer Fantasy, it's easy to learn the rules. Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington, Andy and Remington Show.
Welcome one and all, it's time for another action-packed episode of the Andy and Rem Show. Episode number 156. The Return of the Kroak. And as far as Remington's blinds are concerned, you'll find, as I remove the episode thumbnail, that they are already closed. But light still passes through them.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, Andy. How are you?
I am radiant, much like the light shining in through your blinds there.
How does it feel to be out of lockdown?
It feels exactly the same.
Ah, well, did you take a trip into town yesterday?
I haven't taken any trips yet.
But
But I have
did.
been eyeing up taking a trip into Warhammer World at some point.
Well, it's funny you should say that because I went to my local shop and I was the first one in there as soon as it opened, and I had so many things that I wanted to get, and I did come out with a rather large package, which I shall share with you later.
Did you have a sleeping bag waiting outside for opening time?
Not quite, because the area that the shop is located in is quite dodgy, let's say. But anyway, Andy, how come you're broadcasting on a Wednesday?
Well, due to a variety of the planets aligning for the worst possible outcomes of situations yesterday, meant that we couldn't do the show. And today, we're even starting at a slightly different time as well, just to throw people off even more, keep the audience on their toes. So anyone who is maybe just coasting, tuning into this show on autopilot, they have to actually seek it out now. Put in a bit of effort. Good.
Do you notice anything special about my teeth, Andy?
They look visible.
They look better than before.
I don't remember you showing off your teeth all that much before.
Well, yesterday I had a dentist appointment and they did a lot of work on my teeth, which were in quite a horrendous state. So I had a wisdom tooth pulled out and some gum treatment, all sorts of things that I should have really attended to many years ago, but didn't. So I was in a lot of pain yesterday and couldn't really broadcast.
So last time you had a dentist appointment on a Tuesday, and I joked that you'd line up the next one to coincide with the show, and then you actually did it.
I forgot.
Was it a traumatic wisdom tooth removal, or was it textbook?
The guy was amazing. Absolutely amazing. He put about 5 injections in my mouth and then just did some prodding about. And then the last wisdom tooth I had, the woman had this sort of corkscrew like machine, but this guy just got the wrench out and went like that. And it was like, that was amazing. Like, because your wisdom tooth are probably your strongest teeth, aren't they, at the back, you know? And that guy just plucked it out like it was nothing. And the thing was, I wanted to show you. I wanted to bring it home and show everybody my tooth, and maybe use it in a model or something, right? Maybe I could have a savage orc standing on top of the tooth or something. And the guy threw it away while I was like, while he was working on my teeth.
What?
I know, I was really disgusted, and you should have seen the bill he charged me as well for everything he did. It was like, I've been skint this month because of this dentist. Anyway, I finished the treatment, mouth blooded, half conscious, in a lot of pain, can't feel one side of my mouth. I said, "Where's my tooth?" And he said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, we've thrown it away." I'm like, I wanted to show Andy it.
Wanted to attach it to like a savage orc shaman holding it aloft.
I don't that, I didn't really have the energy to explain that to him in my state, but c'est la vie, you know. I mean, teeth. I'm sure teeth were once a form of currency, you know.
Well, they
But,
certainly are in 40k orc culture.
I mean, I basically paid to give him my precious tooth that I've been growing for many years. There you go. We're in the wrong profession, Andy. Be a dentist, man,
I had
or a
quite a
vet.
complicated wisdom tooth extraction once. It was one of those annoying sideways wisdom teeth, so they can't just like whip it out, they have to actually slice into the gum as well.
Oh,
And they gave me the option, would you like to be anesthetized like fully? Would you like to be unconscious for this, or do you want to just be awake while we're slicing your gum open? And I thought, you know what? I think I'll choose to be asleep.
yeah, fair point. Fair point, man. Steve Evans, welcome, Steve. First on the show as well. Well done. Hi, Graham. Nice to see you. He says, "Don't talk about teeth. I've got an infection in my mouth and he's drugged up to the max. Still in pain. Back to the dentist tomorrow." You know, my tactic for when you're lying in the chair is to actually transport yourself somewhere else in your head. And it's almost like you can come outside of your body. So I don't know how to explain it, but it helps with the pain.
Now, speaking of dentistry, this isn't to compete with Remington's hot tip section of the show, but this is Andy's hot tip. So I would say if you've ever been thinking about getting into dentistry, now is the perfect time to start. By the time that you've finished your training, all memories of the pandemic should be in the past, and all the people who have been avoiding going to the dentist for the last year or two, they're going to be wanting dentists now. All the toothache that's been generated from people sitting at home eating junk food all this time,
Yeah.
now could be a good
Oh,
time to get in on that.
there's much more we could say, Andy, but this show is about wargaming, hobbying, Warhammer stuff, mainly Age of
Yes.
Sigmar. So should we? What's that you've got there? Because you sent me a message and you said, "Have you seen Lord Kroak yet?" And I heard rumors about new Lizardmen models. Of course, we got that pyramid, didn't we? And we got the new Underworlds,
Warband.
Underworld Warband, yeah. And then this fella comes along. I'm looking at him, thinking, flipping it. That would take me a long time to paint that. And then I saw the size to scale it was, and it was like, this thing's just massive. It's absolutely massive, isn't it? When you see it compared on the tabletop, it is a thing of absolute beauty. And this new Lord Kroak is the epitome of a centerpiece model, isn't it?
When I look at it, I think, you know what? It read my mind without me realizing. Because if you were asked to envisage what like an ancient slan on a throne should be like if there's no restrictions on actually creating it as a model, that's pretty much the kind of thing you'd go for, isn't it? Like you can imagine those old bits of ruin circling round him.
Yeah, they're sort of. It's all being animated by his telepathic powers, isn't it? It's just absolutely amazing, and how they've got it to float in the air. If you think back in the day of lead and pewter models, I don't think you'd be able to make such a miniature, would you?
I don't think you would have been able to make it exactly like that. Because if you look at the connection points, I think people can see my cursor on the screen there. So there's a little bit of branch down here. Then there to the left of that, there's another bit of branch attached to the lower part of the ruin. And then on the right, there's another little bit of branch, a bit of root, attached down there as well. And yeah, these thin little points would not have worked in metal. You need a much chunkier connection. So this kind of thing definitely would not be possible. And as
It,
far as it's not the tiniest connection points we've ever seen, even though they are tiny, but there are lots of them. So it's not just all holding on one point. It's not like somebody balancing on another model's head with their toe, like we've seen recently. But it is
it
quite small and delicate connection.
It's absolutely an amazing work of art there, just in itself. But if you look at the top, you see those two kind of Quetzalcoatl flying snakes. I'm sure that's been teased in the past. Does that ring a bell? People thought it might have been some kind of standard.
Oh yeah, in the rumor engine.
Yes, and you've also got a choice of heads there for our Lord Kroak. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer the feather headdress or the full-on
Let's
death
see.
mask?
Ooh, well, are they both Lord Croak, or is one of them more of a standard
Well,
slan?
it could be anything you want, but yeah, they
I do
can
like
be.
this one. It's
I
very
do.
elaborate headdress.
I like that too. I've just noticed all those snakes that is sat on there.
That is
Probably
true.
quite probably quite comfortable, right? That's like an old world version of what's the mattress where a memory foam? It's kind of like a memory foam chair made
Memory
of
foam
snake.
snake throne.
Yeah, but what's that little thing on the right? The sort of mouth totem thing, head. Is that just like an ornament? Can you see
It
it?
looks kind of ornamental, doesn't it? Yeah, with the little triangular teeth there.
Yeah, what
Like
is
you could
that?
probably we could spend an entire show looking at every tiny piece of detail on this thing just from these pictures, probably. There's
Absolutely. I mean,
so
look
much
at the
going on here.
leaves.
All the different vines, all the snakes, all of the decoration on it.
You don't often get vines and leaves as part of a model kit, do you? I don't think I've seen that since as part of a kit that's not a forest, right? I've not seen that since. Uh, I'm struggling. It They look so
I
realistic, don't
think
they?
it fits. I think they've kind of missed a trick with the basing though, because I think that could look more lush and jungle-like to match the
Yeah,
the
that's
trees that are
easily
going on
achieved.
with the model. They could have put a bit more foliage going on the base, but they don't want to hide any of the model, do they?
No, it's yeah, it's absolutely stunning. It's just a shame that the other models in the range are just so old still at the moment, isn't it? I mean,
Some of them certainly are.
but yeah, I mean, what's your price? What's your pricing, Andy? We usually like to do this, don't we?
Well, it'll be less than Cursed City. I'm thinking for this guy, £95.
So that's about $130, isn't it? 125 $30. I Yeah, I don't think you're too far off. I think it's going to be well, seven minimum £70. The minimum $100. I'm saying. But
People,
yeah,
people in the chat, give your price predictions now. How much is this bad boy going to set you back?
I mean, are you tempted to start a lizard man army than a Seraphon army?
I'd be more tempted if I had lots of money to throw around to just buy one of these for just display purposes. I don't know whether I would want to start an entire army unless they update other parts of the model range to bring it into line with this.
Yes, yes, that's a good point. Um, but look at it; it's just the back of it. It's got that sort of a solar engine, but it's still got the sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark vibe to it, hasn't it? With the vines going over the sort of Inca Mayan imagery there. It's just absolutely, yeah.
That
It's
little
amazing.
totem thing, that little trinket that you noticed there, does actually have kind of an Indiana Jones look about it.
It
Like
definitely
you're
does.
gonna steal it off a booby trapped uh, altar.
It definitely does, man. Um, yeah, that's absolutely terrific.
Have you ever owned one of the previous Slan models?
I never have. Back in the 80s, I did have some Slan models. I had some Slan Cold One Riders. And this is back in the day where Slan were warriors rather than the big fat toads. Um, but not since those days, no. I did, when I was working at a school, I did have a little Warhammer club going, and some of the students bought some of the skinks and that. And when I saw the models, I was like, I weren't too keen on them because you need like 40 or 50 of them, didn't you? And it was like, I don't want to do this on. But when I see that, and I actually think the cold one the Seraphon on Cold One are actually really excellent models. I know they're really old, but I think they're great. And the Temple Guard were pretty cool. They were always a bit static looking, just the actual Lizard Man models. The heroes looked amazing. Obviously, the beasts look really cool.
Big
Uh,
dinosaur types.
yeah, especially the last couple that came. The I can't remember the name. Carnosaur, is it? The Carnosaur and the one that spits poison. They looked brilliant because they really look like they're in action. But stuff like the Stegodon, it looks very static. Um, and the Bastillodon.
I remember the
Um,
Stegodon was really cool back in the day when that first came out, though. When Lizard Men were part of the box set with the Bretonnians, the Stegodon came out and they had the new Slan being carried by Temple Guard back then. He wasn't yet able to float in that edition.
yeah, yeah, I love that too. That's pretty cool. We've got a couple of things in the chat here. Thomas Hartman, hello Thomas. He's predicting 140 Swiss francs. I'd have to check the price comparison about that. And Steve Evans says, yeah, about 100 quid. Nice model, but he'd prefer to buy a Mantic Mega Army. You can buy for the same amount of money. What do you say to that, Andy?
I'd say that's quite legitimate, but
Mantic halflings?
people in this hobby do tend to have some income that they're dedicating to it. And once you've already got armies on the go, you might just be looking for centerpieces, which is when people invest in things like this, rather than starting a whole new army.
I'm thinking of drawing like a timeline, sort of not a graph, but it's like a flow chart about like Warhammer FOMO. So if you know what FOMO is, it's fear of missing out, right? And it's like phase one, hyped new model. Phase two, you see pictures and you want it. Phase three, pre-order. Phase four, it's in the shops, and then you buy it. Phase five, you realize just how long it's going to take you to build it up and set it up, and then paint it. Phase six, it lives in a cupboard somewhere for 6 months. Phase seven, next model comes out, go back to one. It's sort of like that, isn't it?
For me,
Like,
you've missed out the phase of take pictures of it once it's painted, put it on social media, and then just bathe in the adoration of the masses.
True. I mean, when I went into the model shop yesterday, I saw all the Hedonites of Slaanesh boxes out, and I definitely had a bit of FOMO there when I saw the glutinous guy on his throne. But when it gets to the point where I've sort of got it in my hands, I start to poke, like, start to find things wrong with it that I don't like. Like, I don't like the claw of the ogre beast that's holding up the palanquin. I'll find reasons not to get it, and then I'll think, oh, I've always fancied some 40k harlequins, or how about that Wood Elf Blood Bowl team? So all these thoughts were going through my mind. Then I realised I needed some more Gene Stealer purple. I needed some more Dryad bark. And
Well,
then,
not only that, before you go on, it's safe to say that we've both made an investment in our hobby this week.
we have.
So I think we'll let you go first since you're in the middle of your game shop anecdote.
But then I walked to the other side, and this is the game shop where usually the people are a bit mardy, which I kind of like. Mardy means a bit miserable, right? Because it means they're not all enthusiastic. They're not bugging you. I can literally go in and browse for hours, and no one will talk to me, which is fine. I don't mind that. Anyway, so I walked over to the counter, and on the right were about 25 to 30 boxes stacked up of this thing which I tried to order last week on the day of its release, and Games Workshop was sold out. What am I talking about? You are right. Cursed City.
Dun dun dun. And it's
Yes.
still in its wrap by the looks of it.
I did, and I think it was like, it wasn't the full discounted version. £125 at Games Workshop. but I think I got this for £110. So slight discount there, which I'm appreciative of. And this box is heavy. I almost don't want to open it, Andy, because it's just like in that pristine state. It's it's very heavy, and it looks like there's well, a year's worth of hobbying right there, especially at my pace.
Can we exclusively reveal that there will be a Cursed City unboxing on your channel very soon?
There will. It will be the second recording I've made for almost 2 years. And if you missed my channel, well, you don't need to miss it much longer because I've started to upload content. And as promised, if I got 100 views, I would make another video. So yes, I shall do a Cursed City first impressions unwrapping as soon as I can. So probably something like Friday. I might record that. Um, any
I'll show
advice
you.
on camera angles would be kind of cool.
Shall I show you what
Or
I got now?
I think
Hey,
we all noticed from your social media, Andy. It's been going crazy, hasn't it? Oh! Look at Andy splashed out. This is amazing. Yes, a
Mega
gargant.
Gargant. Now, you might think that I might be starting a Mega Gargant, like Sons of Behemat army. You'd be wrong, however, because followers of this channel will know that the Mantic Giant, which I heavily modified my Kings of War Night Stalkers army into a Shadow Hulk with all kinds of weird faces on it. Thought, you know what, I don't just want to get another Mantic Giant and do it again, because it's going to have like the same clothes, the same pose. So I want to get a different giant to use to make another one to go with it. So I was looking through all the giants and thought, there's not that much on the market that's actually big enough with the conversion possibilities, except Mega Gargant. So if you want a sneak preview of what it looks like right now, look at that.
Let's have a look.
His,
Oh my God!
his
It's like
belly has been sliced away and replaced with hideous tentacles and a gaping mouth.
it's a massive model, isn't it, Andy? I mean, that's not fully built, but the fact that you're holding that just by its foot.
It is
Um,
very large. It's compared to the Mantic Giant, it's a tiny bit shorter, like up to the shoulders, but it's also not standing up straight.
right
So in terms
now,
of bulk, it's probably a little bit more because like the feet and the legs are much bulkier on this one.
now, is it true that you get a lot of extras in the box?
Yes, I can see why it's so expensive actually when I see how many sprues there are. I think it's 3 massive sprues and 1 half sprue.
I see. And have
So,
you made any decisions about what sort of gargant you're going to do? Which are you going to use, like the Kraken Eater or the?
well, I'm going to use bits from all of them because once I put the mouth into the belly, I was looking at the arm options and there's one here where he's holding 2 guys in his hand. And the way it fits on, it actually looks like he's going to be feeding them into the mouth.
What a
So
cool idea!
I'm going to
I
be
like
using
that.
that arm unmodified, and then for the other arm, I think I'm probably going to add some kind of tentacleage to it. And then as far as the heads go, you get so many options. But the heads, I'm not sure if it's only going to have one head at this stage. Probably not going to have one head. It might have multiple heads. It might have no head. There's definitely going to be faces embedded in it as well, because I'm just going to go nuts with the conversions. But the amount of pieces you get with it, I'm going to have so much left over at the end, regardless of what I use. There's
Well,
so
how
many,
many?
so many unique parts for each of the 3 variants you can build.
Aren't there only 3 head options then?
There are 3
There's
different heads, yes.
right. Okay. Why not use all 3? Like it can, because your last one was like a tentacle head, wasn't it? Why not this gargant be one with 3 real heads?
It's a possibility that I could go for maybe 2 heads, because one of them is a bit more difficult to combine with the others, because it's got kind of a big hood over it. But
Yeah.
the 2
Okay.
uncovered heads, it's possible that I could use those together. And
That's going to be a big project for you, isn't it? And that's a
it definitely is, which I'm going to be working on more as soon as I've finished all these Walking Dead zombies, which I'm on at the moment as well. They're almost
oh.
done.
All right. Game system? What game system can you use then for your for this gargant?
mainly going to be Kings of War. And I checked to make sure as well, once I'd opened it, that he fits on the base size for a Kings of War giant. And it just fits. I'll show you. Hold on. Let's see. I've got the base somewhere here. Okay. Look how tight a fit this is. Just fits snugly on there.
Can you have more than one giant in a Mantic army?
Yes.
All right. And outside of Kings of War, what army could this work for? What you've got?
Well, with the base I'll have it on. I don't know what else it can fit into, but I'm not too concerned at the moment what else to use it for.
Right.
But I think it's going to be a lot of fun to create. I had a lot of fun building the other one. That might be one of the things I enjoy in the hobby the most, is just building weird stuff from parts.
Yeah, and it's nice painting larger models, isn't it? Because you don't have to get too fiddly, and you can do really nice color blending.
Do all kinds of crazy stuff. So,
yeah,
that's what we've got coming up. What's going on out there in the wider world? Let's have a look at this. So, Bad Squiddo Kickstarter launched last week, finishes tonight in about 90 minutes. So we'll have a look at what the total's up to in a minute. But Women of World War II, Soviet Russia. And I'm going to refresh the page to see if this is the actual current total as well. Let's see.
Wow.
So
that's amazing. Look at that. That's £3,000 goal, and
yes.
It's already reached 18,000. That's 5 times what was asked, wasn't it?
Various stretch goals have been unlocked, which we'll look at in a second. But look at that, 88 minutes to go, £18,354, 317 backers.
That's what you get for being on the Andy and Rem show, isn't it? Getting the exposure from our show can get you that sort of interest in your project.
Yes, and because obviously we're mentioning it on this show now, any backers that come in before the end of the project were obviously inspired by our words. So now it says back this project here, but I of course have already backed it, just not logged in on this browser, so you can't see it.
So what was the total? I'm just going to do a quick sum on my phone here, because if it's got 300 and how many backers?
317 backers.
Okay, so 18,354 divided by 317 equals the average backing price was almost £58.
That's pretty solid.
That's amazing, man.
So let's have a look at some of the stuff. So, command musician. So I can tell you I've gone in for the musician bundle, basically. Because I don't have a Soviet army, but I can make a fun little diorama from some of the musicians, I think. So there's someone with an accordion there to use. Tank riders, pilots, infantry, of course, as you'd expect. All kinds of good stuff.
Andy, that's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? Isn't tank riders a bit strange without a tank?
No, because you can just put them on a tank that you have.
Now, there's a 40k army, isn't there? And it's the ones that look a little bit Russian. Can't remember what they're called. They don't really make them anymore, do they?
Oh yeah, the Ice Warriors look a bit like Winter Russians, yeah.
Yeah. I suppose you could use these guys for proxy armor, couldn't you? For that.
Don't see why not. Let's see what else there is. So stretch goals. There's been more things because obviously the project's gone crazy. There isn't even sculpts for most of the stretch goals yet because you don't know how far it's going to go. So all kinds of stuff: tank commanders, more infantry stuff, a dog.
What's an ushanka? Infantry women in ushankas.
Oh, that is I think that's the hat, the Russian hat. Yeah.
Amazing, man.
Famous sniper, £5 add-on. Dancers, that's one of the ones I've gone in for as well, for the little diorama that I'm planning. And this has also been unlocked now, guitar player. So I'm sure it's going to be loosely based on this art here.
How does this work? So, okay,
This
look, you just stop
photo,
there.
should I say?
So, look, it's reached more than £17,000, hasn't it? So, this now unlocks the guitar player, but then you have to pledge for the guitar player, right?
Yes,
Or
so all you
you,
do is just modify your pledge to add on an extra £5 if you wanted it.
right? Okay. So, does Annie have to now design all this extra stuff?
Well, I'm sure she's frantically messaging back and forth with her sculptor at the moment.
Must get quite stressful, right? I mean, because you got all these big ideas, and suddenly they become a reality, and you've got to actually really do it because people have invested in it now.
Yes, but also it's one of those things, it's like once you plunge into this and commit to creating it, then it's quite exciting as well, because you know you can't back out of it at that point. So you can't, like, if you've got the crazy idea, everyone has dreams in life, and there's always so many points leading up to them where you can back out and decide, no, I'm not going to do it. But once you've actually put it out there in Kickstarter form for the world and people are flinging their money at it left and right, then you have to actually go through with it then.
I just, during my head, I imagine someone like, let's say Annie, going on to Dragon's Den and trying to sell them this idea. So, what's your idea? Well, I'm going to bring out a set of fantasy or World War II miniatures. Um, but it's actually a real thing, isn't it? People actually, and Annie's like seems very successful, right? I mean, look, you put a goal at £3,000 and you raise 18,000. That's phenomenal.
There's a lot of bundle deals on here as well, so you can see why some people have gone for the bigger pledges, because you can make a bit of a saving from getting a large amount. For people out there that are building like a full army, the various World War II games out there.
What's wow.
You can get add-ons from the range that already exists as well, and various bits of terrain. Got a scale comparison there, which is nice. I think there's various manufacturers' miniatures there just to show them for scale, in case people are thinking about combining them into already existing forces, perhaps. Yeah, so
Wow. So now it's been reached. What's the next step? How long do people have to wait? Get their
I don't
miniatures
think
out?
it's that long, actually. I think it's only a few months is the goal. Obviously, sometimes there are delays in these things in Kickstarter,
Yeah.
but
I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, I did a Kickstarter for a Bluetooth speaker, and it took 2 years. No, it took about a year to get that, and then this was a kick. See this? This is for people that want to sketch like mannequins, and for people that want to do animation. It's actually really cool, man. To be fair, you can move every part of it. It's magnetized. But this took 2.5 years to get to me. I'd forgotten all about it, to be honest with you.
yeah, a lot of Kickstarters do have, especially first-time Kickstarters, when they don't realize everything that's going to be involved in creating what it is that they're pitching to people, and it ends up taking a bit longer than they would have hoped. But Bad Squiddo have definitely got a track record of putting out Kickstarters now, so definitely a lot safer with somebody like Bad Squiddo. Annie is a veteran of Kickstarter, a Kickstarter expert.
Is this the most that's been raised on a Bad Scooter Kickstarter, do you think?
I don't think it's the most. I think there was a bigger range available in one of the previous Kickstarters. But this, I think this may have been one of the like fastest funded. I think it funded in 12 minutes.
Wow.
So
That's
it's
crazy.
definitely up there. And the total's still going up now with 81
Well,
minutes to go. Someone
I
else
can,
just backed a minute ago.
that is definitely the Andy and Rem effect. Probably more the Rem effect, I'd say.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that later on in the show. So, shall we see what's next here? What have we got? Oh, it's time for get the audio lined up. It is time for
Remington's Millions.
that. Remington's Millions. What's going on here?
What does it look like? It looks like Games Workshop is moving on up.
It looks like there was a bit of a dip and now it's heading back up again. Let's zoom in.
Yes, well, you're looking at the 1 month timeline. All right, so if we zoomed out to the 3 month timeline, you'd see that we are £10 short per share of an all time high. So it looks like we're over this big dip, and it's sort of slowly moving on up. Now things are open. So it's kind of good news, isn't it? It's a lot better than before, I suppose. So, I mean, I managed to buy back in at something like 92. Yeah, so you can see I'm 15% up, and I'm up £1.39.
Just think what you could buy with that. You could buy
Exactly.
the toenail of a mega gargant.
Exactly.
Well, there you go. Any other red hot financial tips or news going on this week?
Well, I think what that picture illustrates is that you have to be greedy when other people are fearful, and fearful when people are greedy. So what does that mean? Well, when everything was red and everything was going down, and the share price went from £117 all the way to something like £91, rather than being scared, Remington licked his lips and rubbed his hands together and thought, now's the time to buy. So I bought, and you can see now I am reaping the rewards. £1.40 or so up.
Those
Now,
are pretty significant rewards.
yeah, I mean, I think there's some various analysts that analyse the share price deserves to be at something like £115, which would be close to an all-time high. So some people think it's overvalued, but I just think it's a terrific company with a lot of cash on the balance, no debt, expanding. It's a company that is good during bad times and good times. Obviously, it's proved that in this last year, and it's got ever so many things coming out, aren't they? So I can only see it going up, to be honest, and I think all the fundamentals will catch up with it. So, you know, um, there you go. That's the boring stuff.
Okay, so there's on the Warhammer community. There's an article with an interview with the designer of Bellacore about some of the design decisions, which we're not going to go too much into now, but you can see the comparison between the two.
Now, I actually loved the old Bellicor model. It's a really good model, the old one.
It does look quite nice, but you can see that it's definitely not a ridiculous departure from the old. It keeps a lot of the same elements intact. It's just brought them up to date.
It's so big, though, isn't it? The new one, massive. But I don't know. You'd have to correct me if I'm wrong, Andy. But our tabletop size is bigger now in Age of Sigmar.
I don't think battlefields are bigger, but models certainly are.
But there's less models, aren't there, on the battlefield, right?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's absolutely humongous, isn't it? Yeah, amazing.
Yep, so an interesting read there for anyone interested in that.
Well, there's a book, isn't there? It comes with the Mortal Realms book. Bellacore, I think. Is that?
Yes.
Am I right?
They've got another article here on which armies are getting upgrades in Broken Realms Bellacore. So, is this just a way to sell more people the Bellacore supplement by promising them something fancy for their army in it? Well, let's see. Nighthaunt, Caradron Overlords, Seraphon, Disciples of Tzeentch, Fireslayers, Stormcast all get something in this book, apparently.
And there's some new Nighthaunt models, isn't there, in there that are coming out?
See Bellacore with some Nurgle forces there. Very
Bellacor's
exciting.
is an interesting character, isn't he? He's like the most scheming. He's the first demon, isn't he? He's like the most scheming one. Always seems to survive.
Very, very, very evil, safe to say. Now then, next. Okay, Mantic had their a kind of virtual open day type thing where they showed off a lot of upcoming stuff. And first of all, for the salamanders, which are essentially their lizard men, then there is now a fire-breathing creature, which I think is based on an existing slasher model with flames coming out of it now and a different rider, which is a common Mantic thing. It's obviously a good way to save having to create an entire new model. Then Salamander Corsairs, which look very piratey. Their pistols there. So they're pretty cool looking.
Yeah. Like
then we've got a road map here. So May, air elementals, drakons, which are like small dragons they're riding on. Ogre Warlock. June, salamanders. Summer, what could that be?
It looks like a Bretonnian lance to me.
Well, we'll find out in a minute. So more salamanders here. Rhinosaurs, which look very, very cool as well.
Wow, chunky. I like that.
Very chunky. Ceremonial Guard.
Is this tempting you, Andy? Do you fancy a salamander army?
It'll definitely put them on the radar next time I'm looking to start another Kings of War army.
What are the attributes of this army? Are they sort of tanky? Are they sort of slow and tough?
Their troops tend to be pretty tough and elite for the most part. And they've got some really interesting kind of monsters as well. But the main event, halflings. Summer.
Oh my god.
It's a halfling with a giant mustache riding on a dog.
Andy, what does this mean? Does this mean there's going to be an actual halfling model?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because if we look at the next picture, halfling infantry.
Oh, yeah, man. Oh, they look great.
I like the top hat going on at the back there.
I like that as well. I like the sort of baldy sideburns guy at the front as well.
They're very characterful.
He looks like a sort of a pub landlord turned militia, doesn't he?
Yes.
These are brilliant.
And then Halfling Cavalry. So if you thought one halfling general on a dog wasn't enough, how about an entire unit of halflings on giant dogs?
Amazing. They kind of like, they don't look that goofy, do they? They look like, quite serious.
They look serious, but they don't look that militarized, which
No.
I think is how halflings should be. Should just look like, okay, lads, there's a war. Stop eating your breakfast. Go and grab your axe and let's go.
I mean, they look more like Lord of the Rings halflings than Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar halflings, right?
It would appear so. I think with the dogs, it looks like they've had a design meeting and looked at everybody else's halfling cavalry on the market and thought, what is nobody else doing? Because I think dogs are probably the only thing left, because we've got other companies doing like goats, rams, ponies, all kinds of stuff. But I don't think I've seen dogs before, so that's a nice, unique selling point.
There were halfling dog riders in some of the alternative Warhammer Armies books.
Did anyone ever create models for them though? Because I don't remember ever seeing any.
No, not to my knowledge. But yeah, these look terrific, man. So what's the deal then? Is this it? Is it just there's like the captain guy? These guys and the foot soldiers.
Well, these are the ones they've revealed so far for the summer, so there's probably going to be more to come. Because I imagine it's going to be a full range for the whole army to be released in the summer.
Wow, So, yeah, I'll get some of these for sure. Do you think they'll be released this summer, or do you think they're
I
just going to
think
be
so. That's what it seems
revealed?
to say. So I'm going to guess that you're going to be jumping right on this and getting into Kings of War via halflings.
Well, I've already got a halfling army, all on squared basis, so I'm ready to go with that. These will just be sort of welcome additions, I suppose. Yeah, for sure. Um,
Certainly would.
so in the sort of Mantic lore, you know, how can halflings compete with, the sort of chaos dwarves and the those salamanders? Because it doesn't look like they stand too much chance, right? What are the sort of
Well,
attributes of halfling?
up to now, the halflings have been contained within a separate army as part of the League of Rordia, which has also contained various. I would assume that the halflings are going to get their own full army list of purely halflings in the summer. And we'll see. I think that's all
Ye-
I can say, really, because it's not out there yet.
Uh, yeah, I mean, but it's if you had to guess, would you say they're sort of lightning fast, but sort of glass cannon,
I
or
don't
do
think
you
they're going
think
to be
they're
that
sort of
fast. I think they're generally
tricksy?
not quite as stubborn as like a dwarf, but still pretty tough to dislodge. Not that fast, apart from the cavalry. And
But then,
special rules relating to the fact that they're quite tricky and nimble.
yeah, I mean, do you think you're going to need lots of them?
Well, I think you've already got lots of them, haven't you?
I have got lots. I think was it probably about 4 years ago you told me this sort of League of Rordia, and there was like a halflings mentioned in it. It's been a long time coming, really, hasn't it?
It has. I assume that they probably would have got to this sooner if it wasn't for the whole pandemic situation as well.
It looks, Andy, as if they've got a new design team as well, right? Because this is like nothing like some of the early Mantic models.
Well, I assume they've definitely got new designers since way back in the day when they were bringing out like the old skeletons. Top notch. Steve says lots of cavalry plus Iron Beast. I have seen the Iron Beast pictures as well. I think that's
What?
out there.
Oh, what's that? You can't tempt me with that
I think
word.
we've
And
already
not
looked
show
at
me.
that months ago because it was part of the, was it the League of Infamy, was it? Kickstarter they did. I think the Iron Beast might have been part of that, so we've definitely seen that before.
You have to Google that. Iron Beast.
Halfling Iron Beast. It should pop up somewhere. I don't know if it's actually out there yet, but I've definitely seen pictures of it for
Well,
quite a while.
there's a League of Infamy unboxing video. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I'm looking at it.
It's the Iron Beast. It's like a big
Like a
pig
boar.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. I don't know if it would fit with the models I've got in my halfling army. Hold on, there's a couple of options. It looks like plastic halfling Iron Beast, £12. That can't be right.
That was the price to add it. I don't know how much it is now.
Oh, it must be really small then, no?
Jasper says they haven't delivered on that Kickstarter yet. So yeah, that's still waiting to go out to people then, apparently. But
Okay.
it's a thing that exists though.
Okay.
So that's
All
very
right.
exciting. We're going to keep our eyes firmly on that because that's something that's definitely going to grab your interest as a halfling enthusiast.
Yeah, man. Cool.
And what's going on here? So you've been painting more stuff.
Yes, I never fail to deliver. When it comes to delivering my word, okay, but also delivering an amazing paint job. So just look at those, Andy. My first completed unit of Necromunda, and this is the first gang, the Escher gang. I have used this sort of color scheme of Games Workshops, but then the more I painted, the more I started jazzing them up a bit more. Um, yeah. What do you think? Are you liking them?
I think they're very stylish. They definitely are consistent with the Games Workshop colour scheme. You've definitely got your own spin on there as well.
Yeah, I think I had a few more pictures, didn't I?
Yep, there's one. What are these bases you've got them in?
Oh, they're what the clear ones.
Yes.
So yeah, they're from Games Workshop. I can't remember what they're called. I think they're not cheap, but you get sort of 10 of those base things that hold 5 models each.
They're like squad bases for 40k.
Yeah, but they're 25 millimeters, so you can I can use them for Age of Sigmar. Yeah, I'm really pleased with those. Enjoyed painting them as well, quite a lot. So I'm not used to painting guns and pistols and future weaponry, but I think I did an okay job.
I
And
think
while I was painting them, I was very tempted to buy the Necromunda video game and play that. But if it's anything like the one that's set in the fantasy, oh my God, mine's gone bloody blank. What's it called? That old Warhammer city that's ruined. It's based in
Mordheim.
Mordheim. Yes, Mordheim. Yes, I really enjoyed Mordheim. If it's anything like Mordheim, I think I like it.
I think when you've got them compared to the box art here, you can see that yours are probably a little bit more grimy than the ones on the box, I would say.
Yeah, it's probably because a lot of my paints have half dried out.
Oh, so that's wasn't a stylistic choice then.
I don't thin them enough probably, but then it gives them that grimy effect, which I like. They look like pieces of art rather than just nice, clean painted GW models. Because GW models painters have a particular style, don't they? They don't want to make them too expert. They want them to look like, hey, I can do this as well.
Yeah, they want people to be able to follow along with their
Yeah.
videos and paint them to a similar kind of level if they stick with it.
Now, Steve, thanks for the compliment, man. He says these would make a good Stargrave crew. If I'm not playing Necromunda, but I don't know what Stargrave is.
Stargrave is the sci-fi equivalent of Frostgrave, if you know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's actually out yet. It might be. I haven't been following that too much. I'm sure Steve was in the know with some expertise, though. We've also got some halfling updates from Steve in there as well, who says the infantry come with hand weapons, spears, and rifles, and you get the Iron Beast as part of the halfling mega army deal.
Right, yeah.
So,
Interesting.
keeping our eyes peeled for that.
I'm looking forward to having a game of Necromunda with you, Andy. I know you weren't 100% about it, but I'm looking forward to a game down the line.
Maybe if they reprint the rulebook on paper that you can actually read from, then that would be a start. Okay. Let's have a quick look. I'll refresh this Kickstarter page again, see if it's gone up at all in the last few minutes. Looks the same to me, so anyone who's not backed this yet, there is a link in the video description. You should be there backing this Bad Squiddo Kickstarter. Even if you're not interested in getting an army of Soviet World War II miniatures, there are still fun things in there as well, like the musicians, which are what I've gone in for. Dancers, so you can just paint them fun. Okay, it's time for one of the maybe top 5 popular segments on the show. It's time for
Remington's Hot Tip. Ooh.
That's right, Remington's Hot Tip. Deliver us your concise tip of the week.
I thought I did, didn't I? It was buy the dip.
Nope, that was last week you told us that.
No, I just literally, as we were looking at the Games Workshop.
That was Remington's Millions. That's a totally different segment from Remington's Hot Tip.
Oh, okay. Hot tip. What do you want a tip on?
You're supposed to have this prepared in advance.
A tip on life? A tip on what?
Give us a painting tip this week.
Oh, okay. Painting.
Make it hot and spicy.
Okay.
You know
okay,
what?
This is a good tip. I don't know if you've experienced this base coat brushes are always the ones that seem to go the way of the split ends for me.
Yes.
And it's really annoying. And what happens is I end up having to use layer paint brushes to do my base coating. And so then the layer brushes start ending up not having pointy tips anymore. So how can we maintain the standard of our base coat brushes is a good question. Now, some people might have answered that question with this answer: brush cleaner. All right. But that's not always good. And what I want you to watch out for is metals. When you're using metal paints, they're the ones that seem to destroy your brushes the fastest for me, especially if you let them dry on the brush. Very, very dangerous. But what I've done, here's my actual tip for you guys. It's something I realized when I started collecting trainers or sneakers if you're in America. Rather than buying one pair of trainers, right, and basically wearing them out over 2 years, why not have a dozen sets of trainers, pairs of trainers, and you wear them a lot less frequently and it will last you 10, 15 years.
Or you could do what I do and just get one pair that lasts you 5 years.
Yeah, but you never go out. So that's the
That
reason
is
why
a
they've lasted.
blatant lie.
You never go out, Andy. So yeah. The other thing is throw away your brushes as soon as they become knackered. Because what will happen is you'll have a pot like this and there's like loads of brushes in it, but 80% of them are ones you don't want to use. So it's far better, I think, to get rid of the ones that are knackered, and so you're just using good brushes all the time. Because I tell you what, a good brush really makes a massive difference to your paint jobs.
You know what? I use terrible brushes because rather than ruining brushes doing base coats, I just buy a big pack of really cheap brushes. Let's see. Let's grab one out of here. Nope, that's Citadel.
There. They look like in good condition then.
These were really cheap. So some of them have got better points on than others. But they're so cheap it doesn't matter if you ruin them. Because there's like 8 of them in a pack with varying degree of pointiness.
Now, the other thing I've noticed is that as your paints get older and they get more stiffer and thicker, they do more damage to your brushes as well. So the thinner your paints are, the newer your paints are, the better they are for your brush.
Thin your paints, use a palette. Make sure, if it's GW paints, make sure you clean out the lids so they close properly.
Yeah, it's so annoying, man.
Yeah, that was a sizzling tip there. So actually, someone did just back the Kickstarter there. The total has just gone up, so we can put that one down to us as well. Okay.
During the show, there's been something like £15,000 pledged since you opened this up, hasn't there? Something ridiculous.
Yeah,
like
let's
that.
say that. Let's say it's a huge amount.
Will you pass that on to Annie and tell her that give her the Rem effect, Randy and Am effect, Andy and Rem effect there?
Yes. All of those effects apply. Okay, we've got we've got 3 spicy things left on the show. Right at the end of the show, we're going to do What the Hell Is That? And I can tell you that nobody actually guessed last week's correctly yet. So if you tune into the end of last week's show and try and guess that What the Hell Is That, then there is lots of internet points available for you. This week, we're going to have one coming up right at the end of the show. We've also got the second episode of this season of The Forest of Rem coming up shortly. So before then, I'm going to ask everyone to relax as we get a bit of steam going on the screen there, and it's time to enter a state of pure relaxation. And I know Mr. Remington is going to get on board with this as well. So it's time for
Andy's Deep Bar.
everyone just entered the deep, which is essentially a communal, socially distant hot tub full of wargaming's finest. And as you relax, as you sit back, you can feel the bubbles washing over you. Close your eyes, just imagine it. Just think how lovely and soothing and warm that water is, lapping up around your flesh. But as you sit there, you become aware of other presences socially distant from you within the hot tub. You can see over on one side, you've got the likes of Cedar, Roshi, Kim, John, and Graham has moved into the deep bath, frolicking over there a little bit before settling into their pure state of relaxation. And who's this? Also got the relaxing forms swooshing into view of Nippleless, Eric, Brad, Barbara, and Guy. All of them take their place around the edge in this ever-expanding tub of socially distant relaxation. As you're sitting there, bubbles are emitted from the tub, not from any of the participants. Just to clarify, each one of these bubbles contains an idea that's going to implant itself within. First is to subscribe to this channel and to like the video. As you enter a deep, deep state of relaxation, inspired to check all the links in the video description, including this Bad Squiddo Kickstarter, which just jumped up by another pledge during the deep bath. But not only that, maybe if you've got money left over from backing that, you want to throw it at me as well to keep this channel afloat. Float like the rubber duck that's swirling around in the deep bath, keeping you company. In these socially distant times, you can't necessarily be next to another human, but you can be next to a rubber duck, provided it's properly sanitized between uses. Deep, deep state of relaxation, and once you've followed all my social media, Twitter, Facebook group, Discord server, Instagram, it's time to get out the bath. There we go. Mr. Remington, are you relaxed?
I am, mate. That was very relaxing. Thank you.
Has it put you in the zone, ready for the Forest of Rem?
It felt like I was being hypnotized and someone was trying to sell me something.
Well, there may be an element of that as well. But it's now time to reveal the brand new logo. Forest of Rem Season 3. Never before seen, but it's available now as merch on the Redbubble store, found in the description as well. Yeah, the logo brought to you by Radbat Designs, the genius artist behind most of the logos and artwork on this channel. There we go. Wrap your eyes around that as we listen Forest of Rem song.
In the forest of Rem, in the forest of Rem, where boys become men, in the forest of Rem, Andy and Rem in the forest of Rem, in the forest of Rem, in the forest of Rem. Is it a chicken or is it a hen? You decide when or when in the forest of Rem. In the forest of Rem. In the forest.
Okay, it's time. Episode 2 of the Forest of Rem, Season 3. You may recall that on Episode 1, our hero, young Remlad, a young demonic steed, hoof polisher, promoted to fetlock brusher, in the camp surrounding the evil shrine of Remington the Everchosen in the realm of Rem. The shrine was sacked. The Stormcast came down from the heavens, smashed it to smithereens in a scene somewhat depicted in this beautiful logo. Remington was forced to flee, young Remlad, fleeing for his life, along with all the other foul, depraved worshippers. Decided to head for the realm gate into the realm of beasts. Grrr. Successfully made it through the portal with a wound, might I add. So, Remlad, you awaken. Around you is a lush landscape. In the distance you see mountains. Nearby you see trees, running water. The mountains in the distance look a little bit barren, so perhaps you're in something of an oasis in what could be quite a wasteland. You hear the chattering of small creatures from within the undergrowth, eyes peeking out from bushes. The sun beats down through the trees. What is going to be your first move? Currently bleeding from the shoulder, from the wound sustained during your attempt to flee from the Stormcast Eternals. It seems fairly peaceful around you at the moment.
Well, I have questions, Andy. Aren't the Stormcast meant to be the good guys?
That's why they were ransacking your evil temple.
What? My temple's evil?
There's the quote of the night.
I suppose good and bad is just effective, isn't it?
Well, you were sacrificing people, you were sacrificing goats, and Remington the Everchosen was like cackling with lightning around him. So I think it was definitely a bit of an evil scene.
Yeah, but why was I sacrificing people? I mean, it was
for the glory of Remington the Everchosen and the Chaos Gods.
So it was for a good cause. So therefore the Stormcast are the evil ones, aren't they?
Well, if that's the way you want to look at it, then yes. The evil Stormcast came in and interrupted your pure, holy rituals.
Well, I need to plot some kind of revenge, and maybe Lord Remington will be assisting me, no?
Well, you're kind of on your own at the moment. You just went through the nearest realm gate, Remington the Everchosen disappeared during the attack. So who knows if you've got any assistance right now. You're going to have to fend for yourself for a while. And in fact, while you're deciding what to do, you hear a sound from the bushes. Then, what emerges appears to be a family of humans, scurrying hurriedly, almost tripping over the roots, and they're fleeing from something. They're approaching your direction.
Okay, well, it's only polite, isn't it, to salute them and find out what's going on. Maybe I can help them.
A woman in a hood approaches you and grabs your arm in a panicked state. You have to help us!
I have to... Why? What's happened?
The beast! The beast! And then she kind of goes, puts her hand to her head and faints next to you, as what appear to be her children flee into the bushes. At this moment, you hear a loud roar bellowing from within the trees.
Interesting.
It's very deep. But there isn't a lot of movement accompanying the roar.
Now, it might be a good tactic to try and recruit this beast to my cause. As the great Remington once recruited many an able hero to his cause.
Remington the Everchosen did, of course, recruit Cecil the Magical Unicorn, who then transformed with the gifts of chaos into Jeff the Chimera.
Yes, he did. So, knowing that story and knowing that famous legendary tale, I shall move to where this beast is and try and subdue it.
You're going to attempt to navigate to the beast by sound.
Yes.
Okay, roll the dice to see if you can identify its location and track it down successfully.
Okay, maybe it could be a magical beast that can heal my wounds.
Who knows?
A warrior. I'm going to go Remington! And I roll a 2.
Well,
gotta
that's
be
not
good.
that's not too great, is it? So as you start to make your way through the undergrowth, the bellowing of the beast seems to grow more faint with every step you take.
Yes.
It's almost like you're heading in totally the wrong direction. However, you do stumble across a small hut. Its roof appears to be in flames, and there are arrows sticking out of the wood of the hut. The arrows bear a marking that you recognize. It is the marking of Remington the Everchosen. These arrows have come from his troops, so maybe you're not alone in these woods after all. But this hut has clearly been ransacked. There are pools of blood everywhere. It's on fire, smoke billowing forth. You don't see any evidence of living souls, though.
And what about the monster sound?
The monster sound, you can still hear it, but it's getting more faint.
Well, let's have a cursory glance for any objects that I might be able to use, and then there's nothing. I shall head towards the beast and call after it.
Very well, roll the dice.
Remington! It's a 5, which has got to be good by anyone's standard.
That's pretty good. So, as you look around, you find that there is actually a spear.
Beer. I could be a beast master.
It looks like
Prod
it's
the
been
beast into
discarded,
submission.
not by one of Remington's troops. It doesn't bear those markings. It's something you don't recognise. So presumably one of the locals dropped it in a panic to flee the Remington forces.
I see. Well, I'm obviously going to pick that up
Very well.
and move towards the south.
Okay, roll again.
Okay, let's see what we've got
See if you
here.
can find the
Remington!
beast this time.
Got dice. Remington! It's a 3, which has got to be good, right?
That's slightly better, and it is the second attempt at tracking the beast, so we'll give you a little bonus to that. So, as you make your way through the trees with the spear, all manner of tiny creatures line the trees. This is the realm of beasts, after all. There are beasts left, right, and centre, all over the place, and you haven't got time to stop and examine all of them. Pushing aside the occasional medium-sized spider, you eventually come to a clearing where a large tail appears to be. It's thrashing back and forth, disturbing the earth around it,
Yes.
and at this point you can't see what it's attached to because it leads into a cave. But it is long and it's green.
It's long and it's green. What could it be? Green dragon? Oh, it's been... Well,
On closer
not-
inspection, you see that the tail seems to have a stinger on it.
sort of manticore era, but... Or a hydra. Oh, it's a hydra. Hydras are normally green. Well, look, this is only episode 2 of the adventure, so there's no way that I can die. So I must recruit this beast, and I will fearlessly enter the cave and be wary of that tail.
Very well, so you're going to try and dodge this swooshing tail as you enter the cave to see what it's attached to.
Well, I could I could stick my spear into the tail and into the ground, so to sort of pin it to one spot. So it will do as I command.
You could do that,
What do you think?
if you wish.
Shall I stake the beast? Can I ask the
Yes,
audience?
you can ask the audience. So, audience, should Remlad stake the beast with his spear to stop the tail thrashing around? Will that help, or will it hinder his chances to recruit the beast? Somebody in the audience has got to have some input on this. We've got quite a few viewers right now.
Maybe they're not even listening. Maybe they're just painting. which
They're
is
listening and painting at the same time, so they have to quickly wash their brush and dive on the keyboard.
normal. Okay, what should I do? Should I run in terror? Shall I stake the beast's tail?
I would encourage everyone, of course, to like the video as well. Somebody just did like it, actually. And
Steve Evans says do it. Okay, well, I've got the backing of the audience. I shall, with 2 hands, I shall lift up the spear and pierce the tail and pin it to the ground.
Okay, roll the dice.
I've got a feeling this is going to be good. I don't know why, but It's just a Remington feeling. And that's a 2, which I think is in this situation has got to be a good thing.
Well, it's not that great. So, as Remington attempts to plunge the spear into the tail, it swings violently past him, trips him, and knocks him down into the dirt. The spear is impaled in the ground now, with the tail thrashing around it.
Right, well, I think I need to change tactic here because it's clear that I am just an ant, an insect to this beast, and I shall approach the beast from a lowly position and cry out to it and say, please, please help me in the name of my father.
As you enter the cave, the loud roar appears to have been something of an illusion. Not that the beast isn't large, but the roar, once you get inside, it turns out it's being amplified by the cave, and it's actually more of a whimper. It's quite dark in there, so you can't quite make out what the creature is, but it is seemingly in pain.
Oh. Maybe I can help.
So, if you would like to maybe try and illuminate the area, there are stones around if you want to try and start a fire, perhaps.
A long thing. What if can't I just say a prayer to Lord Remington that he could provide some illumination?
You think Remington the Everchosen is going to listen to a lowly demonic steed fetlock brusher?
Well, that's a matter of faith, isn't it? And I have faith.
Okay, roll the Remington faith dice.
Okay, I've got a good feeling about this. Looking for something high. Remington! And it's a 2, which compared to the other rolls is about average.
Well, a gust of wind enters the cave.
That's got to be a good sign.
There you go. That's it. It's still dark, but it's a bit chilly.
Uh-huh.
So you can still hear the beast whimpering. You feel like you're quite close to it. Would you like to maybe reach out and touch it, or try and illuminate the area somehow?
No, I will reach out and touch it, and I will stroke it gently. Maybe I could soothe the beast. And
you feel that it is incredibly scaly. It doesn't quite recoil from your touch. It feels quite weak, in fact.
Oh.
And as you are standing there, you feel in your boots, in your cloth boots, that they're filling up with some kind of liquid.
What, my boots are filling up with a liquid?
Yes, like you're standing in something that's very soggy.
Oh. Yeah, I think I should take your advice and try and get some light in here so I can see what's going on. That could be anything.
Very well. If you want to retrieve the spear, you notice that there's a small shaft of light coming from the roof of the cave, which you could potentially poke at with the spear, or you could try and start a fire.
Yeah, let's poke a hole through the ceiling.
Okay, so you retrieve the spear from outside, and roll the dice.
Okay, I'm looking for a big number here because the gods of the dice have not been on my Remington side. And I again roll a 2. 2 is the number of today.
As Remlad pokes at the stones around the shaft of light, one of them dislodges, and there is silence for a few seconds until suddenly a boulder comes down, pinning Remlad to the ground by the arm. It's too heavy to move, but with the light entering through this crevice, it's fully illuminated the beast, and you can immediately see that it is a large green wyvern.
Oh, lovely.
And you can now also see that there is a wound seeping blood from its leg, where there appears to be something sticking out of it, something sharp.
Well, I need to remove that for 2 reasons. 1, it might be a useful weapon for me. And 2, it can maybe help the beast relieve its pain and join my cause.
Well, you can't quite reach the beast at the moment. You still do have your spear, which could potentially reach the beast. But it's whimpering just out of range.
Yes, I think the wise words once spoken, and that's don't enrage a wounded tiger. So I think it's a bad idea to prod the beast. I think it's probably best just to try and dislodge whatever's in it.
So how are you going to do that? Because you're not in range of it at the moment because you're pinned by this boulder.
Oh, I forgot. Well, there's nothing I can do, is there? I suppose. What?
Whereas the beast does actually turn to look at you because of the fresh beam of light that's come down. You're illuminated
Right.
as well. The creature stares at you.
Yes. I'm going to say I'm here to help, and then I'm going to sing it a little soothing song.
Well, go on then, sing it a little bit of a serenade the beast. Remember, you don't have any instruments.
Okay. Little wyvern, don't be shy. Little wyvern, my oh my. It's been a long time since I saw you in the streaming light of day. Mr. Wyvern, come to Remington and let's smoke lots of hay.
The wyvern, its head sways from side to side a little, and then it seems to fall asleep, drops to one side, and one of its legs, the one with the wound in it, in fact, kind of comes out from under it and kicks the boulder off your arm. Once it hits the ground, it immediately feels the sting of pain from its leg and wakes up again, but you are now free.
Okay, so I'm free from the boulder,
Yes.
and
The creature is awake again, but you've already successfully serenaded it once.
right. Okay, well, I'm going to carry on singing that song. I'm going to repeat it while I gently pull out the,
Okay.
the thing that's hurting.
Can I suggest that you roll the dice with the other hand this time?
You can. I could always change the dice because I reckon these Games Workshop skull dice are definitely weighted. Remington, it's a bloody 2 again. Honestly, it's a 2.
You know what? Because it was such a lovely song, I'm going to give you the opportunity to find a different dice.
And I'm going to take up the opportunity, and I'm going to get a different skull dice from my packet and roll this one with a Remington, and it's a 1.
Well, unfortunately, all that you succeed in doing while poking around in the wyvern's wound is to push the large, sharp implement further inside. Enraging the wyvern, it swings round with its long, scaly neck, saliva dripping from its mouth. It takes a swipe at you with its teeth. Roll the dice to dodge.
Remington, it's a 2. I don't think these dice are actually rolling. They're just sort of skimming across the table. Give me another shot. Give me one more shot, Andy. I'm going to spin it properly, and I roll another 2.
Well,
it's a 2.
Well,
Unbelievable.
I'll let you get another dice in a second, a non-skull dice, but for now, as the beast swings its neck round, Remington instinctively throws an arm up to defend himself. The wyvern's jaws clamp onto the wrist, ripping off the hand of Remlad. Blood spurts everywhere. The wyvern snacks down on the hand and then gets back to its whimpering. You are now the proud owner of one hand and one bleeding stump.
That's fun. Are we going to end it there for the day?
I think we can end it there, and that'll give you an opportunity to find a new dice ready for next week. Can Remington bounce back, losing a hand? Can he tame the beast? Can he save his soul? Can he reunite with his evil master? Does he even want to? Is he going to turn his life around? Tune in to find out.
I'm so angry, Andy. I mean, I might just decide to eat the wyvern myself. For its,
Let us know in the comments after the show what you'd like Remington to do next, because he is bleeding a lot. So I think he needs some advice. Let's get rid of the Forest of Rem logo here, which is available now on merch at the Redbubble shop in the description. And you can see the Kickstarter has actually continued to go up. We're now over 18,500. Very nice indeed. And to round off the show this evening, it's time for What the Hell Is That? But before that, don't forget to check out all the links in the description, like the video, subscribe if you haven't for some reason. Stay tuned for more sizzling content on this channel and on Remington's channel if you want to see the Cursed City unboxing. And we'll see you probably on Tuesday again next week, unless Rem has booked in any emergency dental surgery.
Well, thanks for turning up, Andy, and thanks for producing a fantastic show.
Well, would you like to say goodnight to the magnificent audience?
Good night to the magnificent audience.
And everyone stay tuned, because What the Hell Is That is coming up right now. So all that remains to be said is, other than identify the miniature you're about to see, good night out there. Whatever you...
What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Is it a chaos dwarf or a vampire bear? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Oh, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? Only Andy and Remington, Andy and Remy, Andy and Remington